Salute to you all. The brave never fall. This is the Phase 3 kickoff, the prologue to Phase 3. 100 more podcasts in this ongoing series of me trying to put everything I have into every single one of these podcasts that I put out. But unlike Phase 1, which was kind of standing up and taking a breath and looking ahead and saying I have a mountain and a volcano in front of me, and then in Phase 2 actually confronting that mountain and volcano and then getting back into the valley, I wanted to, and if you don't know any of that stuff, that's what Phase 2 is really for. Phase 1, it was kind of a setup for just what we do in life, things that we pay attention to but really don't pay that much attention to. It's stuff that's in us, but we do it without thinking. And I wanted to focus in on some of those things and say, are you aware of this? Are we aware of that? In Phase 2, I really wanted to hone in on the individual journey and really confronting our fears, which is that metaphor of the mountain and the volcano, having to face and overcome through perseverance and resilience and fortitude and discipline, accountability, ownership, being a genuine person, doing the best you can every single day without excuses, not looking to your left and your right and saying, yes, this person's doing that and this person's doing that, but I'm doing this. And trusting yourself, trusting that the decisions you make may not always be the greatest decisions, but you have within you the ability to be more. So you would hope that you would have people around you that are doing the same thing. You know, you want people around you that can forgive you because you are going to forgive. You want people around you that are going to love you because you love them unconditionally. And these people and these things is what Phase 3 is and will be about. Phase 3 is entitled We Rise and Maintain Balance. And I had, again, the initial concept, because Phase 1 didn't really have a title. It was really called The Brave Never Fall. Phase 2 was called Learn, Laugh, and Level Up. Phase 3, We Rise and Maintain Balance. I really want to focus on, as Phase 2, focus on the individual, even with the affirmations and the color wave black, you are. I want the emphasis in Phase 3 to be we. Because it's not just what we do as individuals, it's also who we have around us that makes all the difference. Because let's face it, we can't get through this world alone. Most of us can't. There are an exceptional few that can get through this world completely on their own. But most of us aren't capable of doing that, and it's almost impossible. We have people who rely on us. We have children, we have family members, we have friends, we have coworkers, we have church members, we have pastors, we have teachers, we have mentors, we have coaches, we have acquaintances, we have all of these people in our lives. We can't just wave at them and say, I'm going to disappear today like the invisible man or invisible woman. We have to wake up every day and face these things and not give a shortened version of ourselves to these people every day. Let's kick this off by challenging you. And that word challenge is going to be something I use a lot. And it's not a negative connotation. Challenge is a positive connotation. We're going to kick things off in the first 12 podcasts with the Visions Blueprint of Life podcast. Is really the Blueprint of Life is one of my factions that I have, and every 12 episodes there will be a different faction. I call them factions or segments of the Brave Never Fall family tree. You have the blueprints, you have connections of love, connections of life, encouragement for you today. It used to be hey, salute brave men and salute brave women, which for reasons I might disclose in the future may go to sincere brave women, and I'll talk about that in the future, why that is. But I haven't really come to terms with a lot of these titles. Unlike Phase 2, I had everything planned out. I knew every single, every 12 episodes there was a different color. So I knew Red's title. I had all the titles picked out. Orange title, all picked out. This one, Visions, is completed. All the titles are there. But the fun about Phase 3 is that I get to have a lot more freedom over what I choose to do those 12 episodes on, because it'll be within each faction. Again, I kind of envisioned the Brave Never Fall podcast on the channel as being almost a streaming service, where this is just a 12 episode show of looking at something like Visions, Blueprint of Life. It's just season 1 of Blueprint of Life. It just happens to be called Visions. It may be called, quote unquote, season 2 maybe of Blueprints of Life may be called something completely different. But this version is called Visions, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. And what's cool about these episodes, at least starting off with Visions, is that, again, this is not like Phase 2 where it's very individualized. It's on you. Phase 3 is much more about really giving insight into tools, into finding out who we are, real life experience, things we can actually apply to these smaller moments, where Phase 2 was these bigger moments, things that we have to recognize, things we have to be aware of. And once you recognize and you're aware of these things, now what do you do with them? Now we have to actually apply them. And Phase 3 is about the application, which is called, this is why I'm saying the Brave Never Fall, we rise and maintain balance. That's actually an extension of the Brave Never Fall. It's actually just one big quote. The Brave Never Fall. We rise and maintain balance. The tears of joy the tears of pain I shed today will be the tears of joy I shed tomorrow. That's all one big motto, including the name, the Brave Never Fall. It's all one big thing. And I just extracted we rise and maintain balance and made it the title of this phase. And I thought it was appropriate and I thought it fit. And I'm happy to be able to work on this podcast because I need the freedom, because my true attention in Phase 3 is not so much Phase 3. Phase 3 is heavy for me, but it's really writing the first Brave Never Fall book, which I've already started, and it's going to be a lengthy process. There's a lot that has to be put into this book. Like a workbook to go with it. It's a companion piece. It's meant to go in your purse. It's meant to go in your book bag. It's not it's not a little tiny small little baby book, but it's hopefully when it's out in people's hands, it's small enough and accessible enough where it's designed for you to be able to open it up and read whatever you want, whenever you want, whenever you need that particular page. It's there for you. All my quotes, is really based on Phase 2. So the book writing process has begun. It is the focus. It is going to be so much fun to be able to detach from the book and go to the podcast and work on these podcasts, because the podcasts are going to be a lot different than Phase 2. There's no sense in me doing the same thing over again. So there's going to be some new elements in the way I do the podcast. And I'm really looking forward to it. They're a lot more accessible and tool-based and recommendation-based, and at least with Visions. I have no idea what I'm going to do after that, which faction I'm going to continue on with after that one. And that's the fun of it. If the only downside to Phase 2 is that I could say, okay, purple's coming next. Green, black, this I have no, it's whatever I choose to be more in tune with at the time. And really, I've been really diving into a lot of books. And just to give a little heads up on Phase 3, or at least with the Visions, Blueprints of Life podcast, I've devoted myself to reading one book a day. And while I'm working, I have an audiobook and I listen to that book. And it's been something, now I'm like addicted to it. I have to listen to at least half a book a day. And in the last couple of weeks, I've read through audiobooks and just with my own eyeballs, I've read over 12 books. And I've gained so much knowledge, and there's so many notes and tidbits. I thought, okay, Blueprints of Life is perfect to share some of these things, give you guys some resources, some recommendations on books that I'm reading. But it's not about books. It's the true interpretation of rebuilding yourself, reconstruction. And it builds into having good relationships, being true to yourself, understanding that everything that bad that happens in your life is not always a super negative. It can be something that's super positive. And the more I dove into that idea, I really wanted to start off with Blueprints of Life and the Visions podcast and expanding your mindset. Because if we're doing the metaphor of you're going to be tackling another mountain and another volcano, you're going to be in your mind first. I thought about that. I'm like, okay, mentally, you're going to be in your head. And all the other factions we'll get into, like connections of love, that's obviously your heart. Connections of life, that could be your soul. Connections of bear.wolf.trek, which used to be bear.wolf journey. I've gone to bear.wolf.trek. That's your body. We will talk about fitness in phase 3. We will talk about love. We will talk about life. We will talk about men. We will talk about women. We will talk about relationships, communication, all these things. Just being inspired and motivated every single day. It's a much lighter phase. It's going to be, but at the same time, we can't lose that motivation within ourselves to take things extremely seriously when it comes to ourselves, because we don't want to get complacent with having people around us and feeling like everybody else is supposed to do all the heavy lifting while we get to just sit there and say, hey, I already been over the mountain and volcano. I just got to sit back and smile and watch you do yours. I've done it. You haven't graduated from anything yet. I'm still learning as we go along. And what's great about phase 3, because I at the end of phase 2, I had realized that I'm learning along with you guys. And I wanted to devote phase 3 for us learning together. What I learn, I want you to learn. And I want to learn from you guys. I want to learn from people that are around me. You guys meaning people in life. I want to soak it all up. Like I said, I have been addicted to books. It's translated over to my job. There's some things that happened to me that I can't explain in the last month and a half. There was, discipline-wise, there's things that I have dropped that have given me more time. There's things that have given me more freedom, but at the same time, I'm putting in more work than ever. And there's just things that I can't explain that are just happening where I'm like, wow, I'm scratching my head saying, I'm on the right path. I have to share these things. And one good discipline, like I said, is if you can read one book a week, you're going to learn so much stuff. But it's not just about what book you're reading. It's about how you identify with that knowledge and what are you getting out of it. Is it touching you? Is it touching your soul? Is it touching you in ways where you want to read that book again? I've read some of those books 3 times, 4 times. One book in particular I've read about 6 times, and I say read, but I'm listening to it. I love audiobooks because you can mindlessly be somewhere else and have a notepad and be journaling and just soaking it all in. I have a sketchbook that sometimes I'll read and I'll get images in my head. I'm like, well, don't waste that image, sketch it out. And it's another, my sketchbook has become another journal for me. It's things like that. I really feel life is what you make of it. And if you make excuses and you run from it and you don't step up to the plate when people need you, then you're missing out on a whole lot. And I can say that there are things that I've had to step up and endure and do that I never thought I would do. And that's in the past few months. There are in the past year, past 2 years, there are things that I've had to adapt to that looking back on it, now that I'm detached from some things, I can't believe I was actually doing it, but at the same time, I wouldn't change it for anything. And that's the point. I'm here because of those experiences, because of those people. And some of them, you look back on them fondly. Other ones, you look back and say, I went through hell, but I learned from it. And the important part is, guess what you don't have to worry about tomorrow? Yesterday. You get to have a fresh start. And bygones are bygones. You forgive people, you forgive places, you forgive things, you move on. And that's what We Rise, Maintain Balance is all about. You could have a really bad, shitty day, and the next day put together something that makes you shake your head and say, wow, did that really just happen? Wow, did I really just meet this person? Wow, did I really just rekindle with this person? Wow, did I really get this at this job? Did I really get this at this church? Did I really do this? Did I really do that? All of that comes from everything that happened before. We know that. That's obvious. But the important part is, just because things happen negatively doesn't mean you can't say, hey, the slate's clean. Let's just start right here. And that's with relationships. That's with places. That's with jobs. That's with anything. The things that you acquire in life, the people that you meet, all of it is just a snowball effect. But it's not what you do with the mindset behind the snowball effect. It's what you're doing with the snowball itself. Are you going to pick it up and throw it? Is it gonna melt in your hands? I mean, what are the actions we take when we have this snowball effect, when you have positive momentum going or negative momentum going? Because it's very easily sometimes to get those two mixed up. We think we're having negative momentum going, and really that's positive, and vice versa. The important part and aspect of every person is that we have a mind, we have a heart, we have a body, we have a soul. It's what we do with those things. If we sit back and just allow these things to dictate us, then what are we going to get? We're going to get exactly what we get every single day when we just go through the motions with these things. Or we can focus on the mind. We can focus on the body. We can focus on the heart. We can focus on the soul. We can actually intentionally say, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to maintain the course because eventually something great will happen to me. Yes, I had a bad day. Yes, I had a bad week. Yes, I had a bad month. Yes, I had a bad year. Yes, I had a bad decade. But at any point in time, I can pinpoint this moment and say, what difference does it make? What can I do to make sure that 10 years from now, a month from now, a week from now, a day from now, I'm not feeling the same way? Because at least, if nothing else, you could say, damn it, I was aware of these things going on. And I either attempted to better myself or I chose to stay exactly where I was and accept everything that came with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, whenever we do that, we have to take those experiences and just toss them right in the trash. So phase 3 is about not even going near anything that is negative. We can identify it. We did it in phase 1 and phase 2. We know what negativity is. We know what toxic people are. We know what bad relationships are. We know where bad places and things are. We know what these things are now. Now we have to put in motion what we have, what we've learned, the confidence, all that stuff that we learned. That wasn't for show. That was never intended to be in vain. It's for real. It's meant for you to move on confidently and to push into this next version of yourself. And people like to use the word change. And I always tell people, I haven't really changed as much as you think I have in the last few years. Change is a bad word. We can change our clothes, but eventually you're going to put those same clothes back on again. I like to evolve, meaning you're not going to wear those clothes again because you evolved from that style. That style of clothing for you doesn't work anymore. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't fit and is out of fashion. You've evolved into another moment, into another decade, into another time frame. I think the word change is a good temporary word, but the word we want is evolve. We want to evolve into something. And I tell people that all the time. They say, well, you haven't changed at all, as if that's some negative connotation. And I guess it could be if I'm the same person I was in high school, which I have met people recently that are literally the same person they've been since high school. They haven't evolved. They've changed their clothes, but they haven't changed their fashion. They're still the same person. We don't want to be that way. So welcome to phase 3. We rise and maintain balance. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Here we go.